Essentially, what the article says is that Manchester United could hold talks with Thomas Tuchel this weekend. He's got not got a lot to do. The international break's not till March and the World Cup's not till the summer. So Man United could be in talks with Thomas Tuchel this weekend, next weekend, last weekend, a month ago when they sacked Amrim. And they could have that conversation and Tuchel could say, yeah, I'm done with international football. I'll take the job in July. Let's start thinking about who we're going to buy. Let's start thinking about who we're going to sell. Let's start strategizing what's going to happen. You could definitely do that. And in many ways, it would be a very good thing to do. However, if it gets out, and this is what the article says, if it gets out, it becomes a massive, massive issue. I think it was Lopetegui. Was it Lopetegui who was the Spanish coach and he was going to take the Real Madrid job and they literally sacked him about a week before the World Cup or the Euros? I can't remember what it was. So it's massively destabilising. I remember Sir Bobby Robson doing it in Italia 90 and he was called a traitor for doing it. So you cannot announce that you're going to be the Man United manager before you've managed in the World Cup, whether you're Pochettino at US or Nagelsmann at Germany, and certainly not if you're an England manager or a Brazil manager. Can you imagine England fans knowing that Tuchel is going to be the Man United manager? Or Brazil fans knowing that Ancelotti's leaving them to go to Man United? You can't do it. So does that rule out going for an international coach? And if so, United have fucked up because you can't rule people out. You can't. The whole point of this process is you can't rule Carrick out, you can't rule Enrique out, you can't rule Iraola out, and you can't rule any international. The whole point is to keep it wide open, not rule people out. But I do think that, are we ruling out international coaches if we can't even talk to them until the tournament's over, which could be mid-July, with the season starting in mid-August? How do you even do that? How do you buy players knowing you might buy Baleba and Tuchel could come in and go, what? So are we therefore starting to walk towards something that's a little bit concerning, that, oh yeah, we're going to run a really thorough managerial candidate process? You're not, are you? Because you can't actually go for half of the decent managers that fans would want. So how difficult is that? And I think it's a good point. I also think that the article goes on to say that, look, Man United can't rush into anything. I think that's exactly what we need to do. Not in the sense that we need to appoint a new manager. We've got to have a bloody good idea who we want. Now, that doesn't need to be public knowledge, but look, I don't believe we've held secret talks with Luis Enrique, but if the board say they want Luis Enrique, then you've got to be now linking in with Luis Enrique. It's the same if you want Elliot Anderson. You can't wait till he comes back from the World Cup and go, Elliot, we're at Heathrow, Elliot, Man United. And he's like, I've been talking to Man City for months. Do one. So we have to put the groundwork in and we have to know what we want. And that groundwork could be as simple as, Thomas Tuchel, we really want you. Let's leave it at that. Are you open to us? Wink, wink, nod, nod. Yes. And then at least you know. Luis Enrique, let's have some talks. Are you going to sign a new contract at PSG or are you interested in Man United? I'm interested in Man United. Right, let's have some talks. We have to be doing that from today. We can't just wait till the end of the season and see if Carrick can drive the bus. Because the problem with Carrick, and many people agree with me and many people don't, but that's life. The problem with Carrick is, even if he does win most of the games until the end of the season, you don't know how he's going to react to next season with double the games. You don't know how he's going to react to a team that he's going to have to tell them that he's selling players. You don't know how he's going to have to react to having a transfer budget. So there's too many question marks about Michael Carrick, even if he wins loads and loads of games. And I'm saying if he wins loads and loads of games, there's a case he should get the job. Of course there is, but there's a lot of uncertainties. And who is he upsetting at the moment? Is there a player in that squad that he's upsetting? No. He hasn't got a squad big enough to upset anybody. Even Cunha on the bench isn't happening anymore because Dorgu's injured. Sesko's a young player, he's happy to work. Xerxes running around with a smile on his face. He's not upsetting anybody, is he? But in the summer, he will have to upset people. So, what I'm saying is United can't wait and see. Wait and see is what they did with Amrim, and they stumble into things. They've got to have a strategic plan, and I'd be invigorated. I'd be excited. If I was Jason Wilcox or Omar Barada or Sir Jim Radcliffe, I'd be holding meetings for the last month. I'd be holding meetings and I'd be going, who do we want? Who is it we actually want as manager? Let none of this sit around bollocks. Jason, you're getting right on my tits, Jason. All you want to do is sit around and wait. You're a bloody prat, Jason. You get on my fucking nerves. I think I broke character there. But no, seriously, if I was Sir Jim Radcliffe, I'd be invigorated and excited. I'd be holding meetings and I'd be like, who do we want? Who's our top 3? Who are the top 3 managers we want? And then if we agree on Enrique, Ancelotti and Tuchel, right, let's see, are any of them possible? Well, Enrique's going to sign a new contract at PSG. Ancelotti's going to stay at Brazil. Okay, so they're off the table. So we've got Tuchel. We can't just have Tuchel. Who else do we want? Tuchel, number 1. Who else are we going for? Obviously, let's keep Carrick in the situation. Let's keep that ongoing. We'll see how it goes. You know, obviously, we'll keep him in the equation. But who do we want? And then you start feeling it out. You don't just sit there and go, that would be the same mistake that Ed Woodward made. That would be the same mistake the Glazers made when they sacked Mourinho. We're going to run a thorough managerial candidate process in the summer. Oh, Ollie's done well. Let's give him the job. We can't do that again. We've got to do it properly. So look, hopefully we are holding secret talks. But I do think the interesting thing from the Simon Stone article is, are we even going to go for a manager that's managing in the World Cup? Because keeping that quiet, you know these journalists want to know. They want to know. The good thing is, I think when Thomas Tuchel was being interviewed around the time that Ten Hag was going to get sacked, it was in the interest of Tuchel and his agents to leak it out. It's not in their interest for this to be leaked out at all. And it's not in Man United's interest to leak it out at all. So maybe those secret talks can happen. Maybe they can. Tilak says, if Carrick gets us top 4, he will lead us. Well, look, I like Michael Carrick. I actually saw a little, I don't know what they call him, reel last night. And it was of Christian Bale in Batman when he says that line, when everything's been broken down, what are you going to do? And he's there and he says, we're going to build it again. And it was Michael Carrick when he walks into Manchester United. I was like, fucking get in. Let's have some of that. You know, I don't make any apologies for wanting Solskjaer. And I don't make any apologies for getting excited about Michael Carrick. And I don't take the piss out of people who do. It's pure nostalgia. It's pure fantasy. And it's pure romance. And it's very easy to jump into that swimming pool of Carrick's going to rebuild Man United. Nobody's going to rebuild Man United, by the way. There is no way back with this ownership. So that's one thing in reality. Get out the pool and get your towel. And secondly, I am not at that point now, and I'll tell you when I am, where I would go give Michael Carrick the job. And I think we'll win. I think we'll win tomorrow. But I'm just not at that point. I'm scared of giving Michael Carrick the job. I like Michael Carrick. He's one of my favourite players of the last 20 years. So underrated. And I'd love it if he could be successful as a Manchester United manager. I mean, I think he lacks a bit of charisma in interviews, if we're being completely honest. But, you know, you can't have everything. And but I'd love him to do well. I'd love him to get. I don't think I'd love him to get the job. If they give him the job, I'd love him to do well. I am not going to say I'd love him to get the job, though. I don't really want that to happen. I think in life, I've learnt in my 40s that over the majority of my life, you get what you pay for. And most of the time, quality will outdo a punt. It will, in all areas of life. Like if somebody says, do you want this steak or do you want the mystery steak? If you go for the quality steak, it will be better.